elbow, splint, is that jack chains. And the problem is here is also, therefore, defining what qualifies as jack chains. Is it just minimal arm plate armour? Well, maybe not. So I've relied a lot on art so far. Now we go into the written text, and the problem is the written texts do occasionally mention things like jack chains, which might be exactly like we are talking about jack chains being, and might be exactly what reenactors recreate. Or they might be something else, and we don't always know, and that's the problem. When a written source describes something, we don't always know exactly what they mean. They just use their name for the thing. And here's the other problem with the whole concept of jack chains from my point of view. Lots of different types of armour existed and were abundant. So obviously mail, okay, like this mail skirt here of mine, but mail shirts have been around for centuries. I mean, going back to the Roman era. And so there had been a big accumulation and build-up of mail in medieval Europe. Mail wasn't particularly rare. So when we see common soldiers, whether they're Swiss pikemen or whether they're English archers or whatever, French crossbowmen, very often they're wearing a mixture of armour, sometimes brigandines, sometimes breastplates or cuirasses, very often mail shirts, and that's what they normally wear. And they don't normally need anything like jack chains, and if they do have armour, they tend to just have normal plate arm defences. Nothing like a jack chain, really. So in essence, if mail is plentiful and basic cheap plate arm defences are available, why would you even bother with jack chains? So let's answer the question, did jack chains exist? Well, I think that we have enough things like jack chains, even if most of them aren't actually chains, they're a series of plates, in medieval art, particularly 15th and 16th century German art. Okay, so we're talking about late 15th century, usually between 1450 and 1500, or between 1500 and 1550. So this kind of window between 1450, 1500, and it's almost all, as far as I've seen, from Germany. I can't think of any examples from English art, French art, or even Italian art. They all seem to be from the German or sort of German-speaking lands. Okay, so did they exist? I think we have to say they probably existed because they are in some art. Were they common? No, I don't think they were. I don't think jack chains were ever common across medieval Europe. And if they were slightly popular anywhere, it was only in the German lands. And I think the way we need to look at them is, yes, they were probably something that were experimented with some people, but mail, really good, well-made jacks and gambesons, or indeed plate arm defences, were common enough and available enough and affordable enough that for the most part, if you were a soldier that wanted extra arm defences, you'd just use one of those instead of jack chains. So there's my answer. Now, I might revise, as with everything, as I gain more knowledge. Sometimes in the comments you might point out other examples to me, or bits of written text or whatever. I might revise this view in the future, but my current view of jack chains is, did they exist? Probably. Were they ever common? No, and I think they probably weren't worn at all in some parts of Europe. And there's basically other things available which are better and were widely available. Anyway, do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you know any other new bits of evidence? And are there any other questions you have about related or contemporary bits of armour? Because I love talking about armour, as you might have guessed. Anyway, I have been Matt Easton. I will continue to be, and I hope I'll see you back on the channel really soon. Cheers, folks.
Thanks for watching. We've got extra videos on Patreon. Please give our Facebook a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Cheers, folks.
Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the multi-world champion and one of the most entertaining players in the history of the game in the blue. We have SOS. Facing off against the Italian stallion, the Zerg in red. It's Raynor in a best-of-3 Zerg versus Protoss showdown as part of the new season of the Revival Star League. And before we get started, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button, maybe even subscribe. Tell me kind of the algorithm, and give me what we have. 1,814 likes. 1,814 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I can do with my life. And, well, hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. as Raynor got his natural blocked and decided, well, 2 can play at that game. The moment the drone, I don't know if he planned this or if it was just a spur of the moment. I know Raynor's feelings about Protoss are strong ones and not necessarily positive, but instead of taking his own natchery, he's just gonna slap one down in SOS's face. And here comes some Zerglings. He did go pool first, actually. You know what? I think this was premeditated. I didn't look at all the evidence, check all the facts. But SOS reacting immediately, and surprisingly, there's a forge on the way. And it's not aggressive, but instead a defensive cannon rush to potentially deal with this. But the Zerglings are on their way across. This is not Raynor just putting a placeholder down in order to stop SOS's expansion. This is, maybe killing potential. He's not trying to get in with the Zerglings. He's just going to force him to the other side, which is a more mid-term thinking move. If he takes down the gateway, there's no cannon on the way. So a second zealot is about to complete. The hatchery is almost guaranteed to do so. He actually catches one of the zealots, but 2 zealots are a little bit too much to nibble easily for these Zerglings. Looking for the box out, but there's enough probes still here, and Adept is on the way. Strips away some of the shields. The hatchery is complete, and now this is happening. I don't... okay. Well, the Adept comes out, and SOS's supply blocked, but finishes a pylon in the main base just in time. The cannon's gonna complete. And the defensive cannon rush against Raynor's hatchery. So back at home, Raynor is building queens. Well, actually, no, he's not. There's 1 queen in production, and it's right on the screen right now. It might look like Raynor's ready to back off, but once that queen completes, he may have a chance to potentially take out the cannon. I mean, another Adept is on. I'm a rogue! I know. Oh, sweet Kerrigan. Going to try to block with the creep. The Zerglings waiting, potentially at this point, for the Broodlings, which is his best chance to break through. The Broodlings come out. The Zerglings going to participate in the group activity. The Queen is locked inside the base, and indeed is locked in here with SOS. And SOS has, well, never cheese a cheeser. SOS, one of the greatest poker players in the history of the game. Proxy gating in a winner-take-all 100,000 tournament game 7. That is burned into my brain. I want to say I am Katowice 2013. But, Raynor. Well, okay. Now what? Oh, by the way, SOS playing on a barcode, so I thought, you know, maybe put a face to the name. Or the scanning mechanism. It endlessly annoys me when players don't bother. Now, he put it as the clan tape, but that just doesn't show up on the nameplates. So, can we just have a little bit of effort? No, he's like, I got a cannon rush real quick. Ain't nobody got time for that. I'm getting back to the ladder to terrorize people. But first, the troop of Protoss is 2 zealots, it's 2 adepts, it's 1 oracle, and it's a whole lot of problems right now for Raynor. As he's at 29 drones, he has plenty of queens, as in 3 or 4. But the Oracle catches a couple of the drones, and gets a couple more right as the Spore is finishing. A bit greedy, and finds a 3rd. But as the prophecy foretold, the Oracle gets in, and gets out in the orange HP with several drones in the unit's lost tab. The queens, well, who's flanking whom at this point? Which remains to be seen, and debated whether it's grammatically correct. Oh, sure, yeah, a fleet beacon. Why not? Yeah. We know Raynor's not going to have much of it here besides queens, so a fleet beacon is on the way. We'll never know what SOS intended to do from the jump, but now that we've taken this plunge, we'll see how deep the rabbit hole goes. Sure. Also, there's a Void Ring, which is usually a bit of a mediocre choice, but in this specific scenario where Raynor's working off of a mediocre economy and a limited amount of production, there's a stasis. The creep is not all the way across, and the anti-air is just the queen. Runs right into the... Oh, no! Who could have predicted this? One. Oh, beautiful save with the transfuse. These slow zealots that Raynor baited out on the other side of the map coming in handy here. Zergling speed is about to complete. He might be able to surround all these gateway units. So far, SOS has lost one probe, which I think was worth pointing out right before he loses everything on the ground. Well, there they go. Meanwhile, Oracle driven out of the main base. Tectonic destabilizers and Warp Gate. You know, the top 2 upgrades every Protoss needs in this economy. Tectonic destabilizers for doing literally double damage against buildings. And just against buildings. But really the only serious threat to the Tempest and just picking off drones left, right, and center. Spore crawlers. So, with spore crawlers being almost negated by the fact that Tempest exists, and Queens being woefully under-equipped to deal with it. Oh my. Just picks up. This is restricted lair space. And who's gonna enforce it, Brenda? I was hoping they wouldn't call me on that. I don't know. A bunch of sloaches just kind of scampering across the map. The Void Ray will find them. SOS does not have a third, nor does he show really any strong intentions of attempting one. The Zergling's gonna try to break through the wall that stuffed them before. More Tempests on the way, as, well, gonna get through one of the pylons, depowers the cannon. How is that relevant? Alright, back in my day, we didn't need to play games online. Alright, back when this game came in a box. I'm not sure why that's relevant right now, but anyways, the Roaches and Zerglings. Meanwhile, the Tempests are doing terrible, terrible damage on the other side. The Queens are holding them for now. 5 Corruptors in production, a secondary wall. And SOS has managed to hold the door with flying colors. And now, speaking of flying colors, red and yellow on the Tempest alongside the almost near dead deep red Oracle. But despite the autumn color palette, so far getting a lot of damage done. But Raynor pops out a bunch of Corruptors. And, well, the Tempest very likely going to be knocked out of the sky. He might be able to recall one, but it's already too late to do so. Some Glaive Adepts are on the way across the map, and Raynor has 64 drones, but he has exactly 0 ground units that are not Queens. So, yeah, he's building 8 Roaches, but he's going to lose a whole lot more drones to these Adepts. And maybe some of the Queens as well. The Corruptors are headed across the map. The Adepts are going towards Raynor's base. Everybody up, down, all around. Quite a quandary of things that can hit up, hit down, or do neither of what they need. I'm even getting confused when it comes to navigating these sentences, let alone what the hell is happening in this game. Corruptors on the third, Corruptors on the main. The caustic spray split between them. The spray and pray strategy from Raynor. Some Stalkers are warped in to deal with the Corruptors in the main. Might be able to snipe off the Void Ray. Not really worth the effort. There's also a Tempest out here. Just ignore that. Okay. Well, Void Ray gets knocked down. The Corruptors will deny any attempts at further Tempests. And SOS, despite dealing with the proxy hatch in quite a efficient fashion, seems to be in... It all comes together and falls apart simultaneously. None of it really worked out well enough. Raynor rolled with the punches, the Italian stallion. And maybe the Tempest rush on 2 base was a reach too far. But Raynor didn't get tilted. I don't know what's going on with those probes. Well, he's almost mined out of his main, so he's doing some long distance mining, but there's enough Roaches with speed. He has literally doubled the supply. And that usually would be, well, usually is game ending. But in this case, because air control goes to the Zerg and ground control does as well, SOS is running out of options. The Stalkers don't even have Blink, so they just have to run away themselves, which is just not going to work out. There's a single Tempest, and he knocks out a hatchery. He types 2 Gs, and Raynor will roll back around to being in the lead. Oh, well, of all the games I've ever seen, that was one of them. The proxy hatch into counterattack, into Tempest Rush, into Corruptors, into slow Roach counter, into GG. Oh, there were some Glaive Adepts as well. So, all that jammed into 10 minutes. All right. Well, game 2. Raynor takes the lead, though what a, not sure he's going to be, it's a 12 pull. I'm not sure he's going to be able to replicate. Nobody cares! And I can subscribe so I can host my own StarCraft 2 servers and put out a balance patch that makes all overlords constantly make noises. And then you can pay to turn it off, and that's how we're going to fund esports. Working project. Operation Overlord, we'll call it. I think that's new and original. So, no. What are you doing? Come back here. Well, 100% win rate so far, though I don't know if he won because of the proxy hatch or despite it. There was certainly some spite involved. Well, he has enough now. Is he gonna build it? So the probe's on his case, but SOS successfully blocks the probe as it gets that little tase off on the attack animation. 6 Zerglings on the way across, and here we go again. So, if you're SOS, do you need to handle it differently? I truly think he handled the proxy hatch fine. It was just, then he kind of wandered off the path into Mass Tempest, which was, a bold move. And, it might need to be italicized against Raynor. Well, the Zealots are dancing just in time, quite lit. The drones! Ah! Sorry. Ah! That's what I meant. The drones are on the way across. There's no probe to scout him because SOS thinks he has this in hand. But Raynor's just sent everything in his entire hand. Oh, he saw it. He saw it. Yeah, No. You're not playing footsies anymore. All the probes are pulled. Here we go. Everyone's inside the house. He's going to try to kill the Zealots as soon as possible. There's an Adept on the way, which will certainly help things. The cannon's halfway done. The pylons are bounding the hatchery. Gets off a shot. More Zerglings on the way. The Adept is actually kind of walled in. The Zealots get their back to the hatchery of the gateway. Some mineral walking. The drone's out in front. Zergling's getting a lot of damage. One of the Zealots jammed into the corner. But the cannon completes! The cannon completes! And the Adept is still alive, which gives him some ranged potential. He didn't take out the pylon powering the gateway. And Raynor might have killed 7 probes to just 5 drones. But it's going to be a long road home. And a very unlikely one for Raynor to start modding. GG! Wow. Raynor tried to force the issue, and SOS was more than up to the task. I guess we're speedrunning this entire series. Well, game 2 down. We're all tied up, going to match point. Can we get 1 minute? Just do a drone rush at this point. The drone rush... Well, in the last game, I'm not even sure if it would have worked better, but was certainly one of the calls you can make. Raynor has made it quite clear his feelings on late game, Zerg versus Protoss, and how he feels very bad whenever you get into that scenario. Though, I did not expect quite a focus. Well, anyway, game 3. Old Republic. Raynor has built any drones at the beginning of the game. Which, is something. And this time, SOS is like, I'm just, how you could, wait, okay. Okay, there's a lot going on. And also so little. The a lot going on is the so little. Just so I can sound clever. SOS did not probe scout, but he's building a gateway at his main. And this is a hard counter to early pull. Like a early pull without gas. Like not Zergling speed, but if you just have lings or even a drone rush. Meanwhile, Raynor did not go pool first. He went hatch first. So this, I believe, just works out for Raynor. Like, it's not a huge lead, but SOS is actually playing the last couple games, whereas Raynor is kind of back to the standard playbook here. Though, who knows what would have happened if a probe came across the map. You know, no plan survives contact with a probe, apparently. Though, I'm still not sure. Game 2 with the 12 pull was definitely more intentional. Game 1, that felt like a spontaneous move, but not a uncharted one. Well, spawning pool is on the way. The probe will scout that. Indeed, Raynor looking for at least 2 bases this game, and both on his side of the map, to be clear. And the probe need to clarify that as well. And we're gonna have something. Gotta readjust, recalibrate for the kind of generic first 4 minutes of Zerg versus Protoss that, in most matchups, with most players, no, never mind. That's a Forge. I was gonna say, like, it's pretty figured out. We got the Stargate versus a handful of Lings. Take the 3rd base, blink and +1. Nope, still going Forge. Probably less cannon-oriented and more upgrade-focused, but there's always a dream. A Sentry first, which hallucinated... We hallucinated an Oracle. I would love that. I think it could work. Can sell him on the idea of an early Oracle. +1 armor, which is one of the top 3 choices usually for those early upgrades. So, weapon upgrades are usually preferred for Protoss because weapon upgrades scale with the amount of damage per attack. So, like, a Zergling only gets +1, a Marine +1, but a Zealot, I believe, gets +2 and attacks twice. Like, a Tempest gets, like, +5 per attack upgrade. Just for... Hero designed this wall. Are you sure you're allowed to use that one, SOS? It's got 2... It's not really a wall so much as a... Well, it's just not. Okay, so he hallucinates an Oracle, and then the Zergling... He hallucinates an Oracle to try to bamboozle, and he waited until about the time an Oracle comes out, right before 4 minutes. Hallucinates the Oracle, and then immediately, upon seeing he doesn't have a wall, fails to rectify that, and lets the Zergling in, which then scouts the hallucinated Oracle, and then, eventually, finds his way to walling off. So, yeah, that's where we are now. And he's just going to have +1 armor for Adepts, which is... Why? It's like, well, Heroes really kind of cornered the market on being wild and crazy. So, we're really going to have to try hard to outstrip him here. Which... Sure, I mean... So here's the thing about armor upgrades, is they don't apply to shields. Shields, by default, do not have any armor. So armor reduces damage by the amount. So usually 0 or 1 baseline. Now it's going to be +1. But only once the shields are down does armor apply. That's another reason. Usually weapon upgrades are the focus. So, but +1 armor first into now charge. Now he's going to hallucinate a Warp Prism. At this point, he's just going to completely... This entire game is just being played in SOS's mind. He's hallucinated 2/3 of the tech tree so far. And the other third he's trying to work on. I can't believe he didn't just run it with his... Well, I guess he could just attack and maybe win. Yeah. Well, if you go every single direction, you don't get anywhere very fast. So Raynor just kind of wins the game. And that's how it ends. That's the whole thing. You might be like, but there's still so much left in this video. Ah, that means you've encountered the anti-spoiler game. And you're like, well, what's the difference between SOS and Hero? Well, have I got the game for you? Is it SOS versus Hero? Yes. Yes, it is. Raynor just kind of wins, because SOS never figured out what his build was before Raynor just walked over with a bunch of roaches. Almost everything that could go... And also, don't worry, we're prepared. Jimmy, once again, nobody can... Why does it keep Get off the phone! I don't care what their mother wants. Business hours. We don't have that kind of relationship. No, you're not an employee. Don't be ridiculous. Anyways, so, in the bottom left, the smiling assassin, the mad king of Protoss. In the blue, it's Hero. And in the top right, we have SOS. Arguably Heroes played for almost, if not as long as SOS. SOS finding a lot more success. I do feel like SOS is still at the level that was his highest. That doesn't mean relatively. It means when he was strongest, up through like 2017, maybe 2018, he was so dangerous because of these almost random but incredibly deadly styles. But unfortunately, I don't think he's quite graduated past that point. And we still see that today. We still see that. What if I went... Let me get out my Luigi board. Let me check here. Alright, I wrote it down somewhere. What if we went to like and subscribe? Shoehorn that one in. Nailed it. But +1 armor into charge eventually into not having anything and dying. So also demonstrating why the Oracle is such a staple of actually building in Protoss versus Zerg. Because with an Oracle, not only can you scout, you can kill pretty much any Zerg unit that isn't a Queen. And Queens aren't known... Why is there a pro... Anyways, so moving on to this Clown Fiesta. This, dogs playing poker sort of mental health crisis that is Protoss versus Protoss. This bonanza of baffling and bamboozling builds. We have a probe successfully leading a sentry on a wild sentry chase for long enough to maybe let 2 stalkers walk all the way across the map. SOS has gone for an early Nexus. He has exactly 1 sentry. He's about to have a stalker with it. With a shield battery, that should be enough. But, yeah, the shield battery should make the difference here. I mean, Hero has a proxy pylon, but he's not all in. But he's not all out either. Just the tip of aggression here. We'll see if he goes any further than that. Meanwhile, the stalkers, force field. There is an energy recharge, I do believe, and he can use it on the shield battery. He does. Reslurps. Sentry's on its way across the map. He's actually warping in. Now, an Oracle in production for SOS, he has 2 shield batteries, but he still only has 1 gate, and his warp gate was significantly later. So, that puts him in an awkward spot. The Adepts will shade towards the main, but the probe is there to put down something resembling a wall, which is the best Protoss can do. Wow, he just ignores because Stalker's damage is so sad against Adepts. Here comes the rest of the army. Gonna go for the shield batteries. He locks, that force field, the emotional support fields on both sides, as neither of them is quite adept, puns intended, at creating any sort of wall-off, whether it's metaphysical or more literal. Meanwhile, there's an Oracle coming into Hero's base, and unfortunately, he's also building an Oracle, which is not known for its anti-air capabilities. Hero recalls his Stalkers while his own Oracle goes out, oh, nope, that was a misclick. He misclicked all his probes with a control click, but thankfully, he knocked the Oracle out of the... He killed the Oracle, alright? I get it. Anyways, the Oracles gonna see one another. SOS, figuring out that indeed a Phoenix is probably a good choice against an Oracle. Now, Oracles, this is true, have the same vision range as an Oracle, so that means they did see each other, assuming either of them know what the mini-map is. Which, I'm not willing to make any particularly strong assumptions when these two are concerned. And speaking of concern, these two. Twilight Council on the way, for both. Where's it gonna go? We've got Hero doing his typical synchronized shuffling with his units in the main base. He loves his unbelievably disjointed patrol pathing. Hero has now sacrificed 2 more Adepts on the altar of why not. Nihilist Protoss is so... now it is. And here comes an Oracle, which will also kill 1 probe and then die. So, not exactly the most efficient. Well, okay, he's gonna try to save it. He does. Revelation, yep, those are Stalkers. I've been keeping tabs on it is good. They're both going Blink. Hero will have Blink quicker. Somehow SOS has ended up with more supply, though Hero not mining for quite a while and losing several probes to the Oracle. It definitely didn't help. It's 3 gates against 3 gates. Well, I'm not counting the Stargate in this one, but that's kind of implied as well, on top of it. Only way Stargate units work. Hallucinated Phoenix scouting. Regular Oracle sliding in. And, oh, the Oracle gets in again seconds before the shield battery. Gonna pick up